Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my race and quality predictions of the 2024 Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. And you know, when shit gets interesting on track, I'm sure to have some comments. Starting off with 4 races ahead of us, but we'll get to them later. We're going to kick it off with Red Bull. Obviously they're going to be clear. You know, you don't win by 22 seconds and, you know, not go on to win almost 24 out of 24 races, right? You know, that's just inevitable. It's Max Verstappen. We're going to get overtaken. That's not fun. But Sergio Perez isn't really on par with Max, and it's not a surprise to anybody. You know, we did see Sergio win a couple of races at the beginning of last year, but we're not going to see that again this year. Max has just grown to a different level, like 24 out of 24 for him. But I'm telling you, P2 is going to be so interesting because you've got McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, and I'm telling you, Aston Martin, you know, they'll sort themselves out. They look like a clear, like sort of what Alpine was last year. How Alpine, you know, was only in a race of their own. They never had a fight with the top guys, never had a fight with the bottom guys. But now that's where Aston Martin feel like they're going to go sit. But for the rest of the 3, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, it's going to be very interesting. In a race like Saudi Arabia, it's going to suit McLaren more than Bahrain. Obviously, you had Lando and Oscar say the same thing. And they also said that Red Bull was suited more than usual to Bahrain. But I don't think that's going to change anything about who's going to win the next race. We'll be hearing the Dutch national anthem for sure. I think that this race, as much as it will suit McLaren, it won't suit them as much as you'd think. So if you're looking at Melbourne and Japan for those sorts of McLaren tracks. So I think it'll be tight between the McLaren boys and the Ferrari boys, for sure. Mercedes will be in the mix. You know, they had their problems from last race, but still I don't think, just because the track itself, it won't suit them like it'll suit the McLaren guys and Ferrari just quick in that little race for second place in the constructors. So yeah, quali will probably look like a Max on top. Perez doesn't qualify all that great, and even though people say king of the street circuits, you know, it's a bit dodgy. Like, it just so happens, I feel like it's a coincidence that when, you know, he performs well and Max maybe has an incident here or there with some reliability issues, that they're all at street circuits. I don't think it's because it's a street circuit that Perez does well. I mean, maybe that's a hot take, but I'm going to say. So yeah, we'll see Max get pole. Maybe a Leclerc P2 and Oscar. I mean, I'm Australian, so I want to say Oscar, but realistically, Lando's more likely to get up there. Oscar does have some good quality performance in him, but still not at the level of Lando. He's always at, you know, 2 tenths behind. Like in Q1 and Q2 of Bahrain, we saw him really struggle. He did admit it himself, but I couldn't understand why for the life of me. That in Q3 it just all came together. He was lucky bastard, honestly. So yeah, I'm thinking of Max, Leclerc, and then Oscar, Lando P3. In quali. And then in the race, it is Ferrari, so they are prone to a strategy fuck up. And I also think across a whole race distance, it might give McLaren just the edge, just because it's high-speed corners and they love that sort of stuff. So it could be a Max on pole, and then you could see a Lando P2, a Leclerc P3, just because Ferrari is still quick, even though it suits McLaren more. McLaren aren't as fast in general, so I don't think it'll be a double McLaren podium. And Perez, yeah, street circuit king, yada yada yada, but he was only, what, 1.5 seconds ahead of Carlos, and that was at a race that really suited the Red Bull more than most races. So if he's only doing that at Bahrain, I can't imagine him really advancing like he did last race. I think if he qualifies poorly, like he did, you know, P5's still good, but in a Red Bull it's fairly poor. So if he does it again this race, honestly, I don't see it happening for him, like coming up and getting that P2 that they're expecting. Obviously, Horner will be up in trying to make sure he gets P2, because Horner, with all this controversy going on around, he wants to prove that no, he is the best team principal out there, and will really want to show just dominance, Red Bull dominance. So yeah, I mean, that'll be the front three for the race and quali. I know it's the same three and it's not really bold predictions, but I back him. I do. Further down the grid, like we said, our Aston Martin, they're going to be like the Alpine of last year. We're just in that middle of nowhere sort of road. So they'll probably close out the top 10. But Stroll is Stroll, and he seemingly can't drive a car, except last race, for some reason, he could put it together. I just don't rate Stroll very much. But yeah, they could close out the top 10. Maybe there's a spot for 10 for Stroll being an idiot, maybe crashing into someone, finding himself in trouble. But after that, Zhao really impressed me last race, but was that the Sauber? Was that Zhao? I'm not really sure. Underneath, like the bottom 10, it's really hard to pick out just from the last race alone. Obviously Alpine are the worst in the grid by a long way. Logan Sargent was last, but he was nursing some issues. Hopefully he doesn't have the same thing, because I really like James Vowles and I want to see Williams succeed, so there's like a little bias there. But yeah, Williams could do well. I don't know if they could beat the RBs though. RBs, they looked quick, not as quick as we all expected. Everyone was expecting this Red Bull 2.0, but they were kind of just where they left off last year. Yuki was fighting for P10, P11, shock, just like last year. Hasn't really changed for them, even though they moved to not the team and all that stuff. They seem to be, the top of the bottom, or in and around there anyway. Haas, I was impressed by, obviously their quality's always been good, but then there was always a problem with the race pace and their overheating tyres, but it seemed to have solved itself, like to hold off both the RBs. Like, Yuki had a proper go at Magnussen. And then, obviously, the big controversy got them swapped around, and then Daniel Ricciardo on the softs. Oh my God, he still went into him, gave it to him, but couldn't really pull off the move. So what does that say about Haas and their new design? Their tyres can actually survive, which is just really impressive, for sure. But yeah, I'm not going to have any hard predictions about the bottom 10. What will happen will happen. I think the Hatters will do well because they can qualify well now and might be able to hold on to that. Williams could do better. Oh, here's the spin. Anyway. Yeah, I did want to commentate more over my go-karting, and I was meant to record this live, but they said I wasn't allowed any mics attached to me, so this is why I'm doing a voiceover. It's not great, it's not ideal, but hey, here we are. Anyway, all I'm hoping for the Saudi Grand Prix is just an interesting race. Even if it's for P2, I'll take an interesting P2. I saw a few people say that they're going to ignore first place and just going to focus on P2, and I think, yeah, that's the best way to go about it. So here's for an interesting race. Probably won't be as interesting as the go-karting we're watching. You've seen crashes and spins and some nice overtakes. yeah, it wasn't my best performance. In the middle, it was the guy in front of me lets me through, and then I just had the worst lap of my life. I think I spun it like it was sliding around every single corner. It was really quite pathetic, very embarrassing. But yeah, that's me done. Look, this is my first video. I'm giving it a go. If there's things that I can do better, please comment. I love to read comments. And this is going to be a journey. How can I do better? So yeah, let me know. Can't wait for the rest of the year. Hopefully an exciting P2, because that's all we can ask for in Formula 1 these days. And please subscribe, and I'll post a reaction video.